Welcome, Lisa. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me tonight. How are you?
I'm very good. We're live on our couple of different places, so we'll have some questions if people do ask us. But what I wanted to
Okay.
bring you is you have some amazing programs, and
hmm
you're also thinking about offering something very important, and you have a very important message for parents because summer's coming, right? So
hmm
tell me what you offer as a holistic neurogrowth learning success coach.
Okay. As a holistic neurogrowth learning success coach, what I offer is completely individualized, customized plans for your child based on what your child needs, not what standards say, not what the class average was, what your individual child needs to continue to be successful to reach their full potential. So I can't tell you what your child needs until I really know your child, which is what's so great about this. From after being in the classroom for so many years, I get to really get to know children and then create summer plans that work for them. And sometimes it might be that they would be a really great fit in my math fundamentals program. And that could be a group session. Sometimes their needs are different than other students that I have. So they might benefit more from like a one-on-one intensive. And that's what's really great about this is that when kids or families come to me, I get to design what they need. So while I do have some group plans and group lessons and group structures, a kid doesn't have to fit into that to benefit, because every child is at risk for that summer slide. And they've worked so hard all year that we want to keep them there, hopefully move them further, but make sure that they definitely don't go back, because that's not fair. They've worked so hard this year.
Yes.
We want them to keep going. We don't want them to have to relearn things in the fall.
Yes. Parents, like, I don't really know when I if I didn't have the what I'm doing right now, I wouldn't know the difference between a holistic neurogrowth learning success coach and a tutor.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that to the parents who are listening?
Yes. So as a holistic neurogrowth success coach, is it looks at all aspects of the child. So there are things that affect your ability to perform well in math class. Are you sleeping right? Do you have the right mindset? Do you have the executive function skills? Do you have the social skills? Do you have the emotional skills? There's so much that goes into it, where oftentimes I'll have some parents come to me saying that their child needs to memorize their multiplication facts this summer. And while I do agree with a level of importance there, once I get to know their child, it's no, what your child really needs is a conceptual understanding of place value addition and subtraction. And then they can memorize their multiplication facts or find a way to get there quickly. So it's not always, if parents come to me, they realize that there is a concern, there is a gap, there is something that their child needs. But what's great about what I do is I get to find out what it actually is. It's not a guessing game. We actually find out what they need, and then I design a customized plan about what they need. And sometimes it's those planning skills, and sometimes it's math skills. It depends. And that's what's so great about it is that I get to give the child what they need, not
Yeah,
what I want to do
yeah, or what parent want, or what the
or what
school
parents
system.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
parent may think they want this, and also the school system says they need to be at this level. But if what if the child is not at that level? We tend to feel like, you and I probably felt like that too as children, right? We all felt like I'm not, I don't fit in here. Like I must be the dumb person here because
Mhm.
everybody else seems to be getting. Like, that's what
Mhm.
we assume, right? We don't know everyone's getting or not, but we tell
Yes.
ourselves everyone's getting. If I'm not getting, I'm the dumb person. So children form those two
And
ideas.
I felt that so much in school. I had undiagnosed ADHD going through private schools, and I did okay, but I sat there in class feeling like I was stupid, feeling like I was working so much harder than my peers to get grades lower than them.
Hmm.
So that's what I love about being a holistic neurogrowth learning success coach, is that it's not just about that content. There's other things and other skills that, okay, maybe you're struggling in math, but maybe it's because of your executive function planning and task initiation, which is why I really am excited to offer summer programs that focus on both math, but then others are just those executive function skills that are necessary no matter what grade you're at or what subject you might be struggling in. And you don't even have to be struggling in a subject to benefit from it, because it's every day. It's how you get things done.
Yeah, organization is something, and until you need it every day. Even I'm learning to this day. Like, I was organizing my computer just because I did a huge project and my computer looks like tornado hit. Yeah. Because there was everything everywhere. Then I ended up, now I put it into my folders. Now I feel like I've cleaned up. But if I don't have that skill set, if it doesn't bother me, can you imagine that me living with that for another month or so? It's going to get so much cluttered.
Well, and that's what I see with so many students, is that they don't realize it's a skill that they're lacking, so they don't know to seek help or assistance, and then they're just overwhelmed, and then they shut down.
Yes.
And once they've shut down, it's a lot harder to get going. So my goal is, if they've shut down, I'm going to help them get going. But my goal is to catch them before they shut down and give them that skill set so that they can recognize when they need to use a skill set that they've been taught. Yes. So it's to make sure that they have those tools in their toolkit to use when it's needed, not go and patch something up. Let's front load with those tools and those skills and maybe that fundamental content that you might be missing in a subject.
Yeah, love that word, front load. So that every child needs that front loading, because
I'm not able to hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? So I was just telling Lisa that it's really important to front load your child, because when you front load them, what happens is it gives them a guidance. Every child needs structure. They need that grounding, right? Front loading is basically you're grounding them. And a lot of the time we do it, when children have autism, we always say, let's front load them. I find that any child can use that, because even I want to know what's next. If I don't know what's next, I'm anxious, right? Anybody's anxious, what's going to happen. I have a presentation coming in 2 weeks. I want to know what the structure of that presentation. Until I know, my heart is beating at a different level, because I'm thinking about it. I don't know what to expect. So that's what front loading is. It's gathering the information in advance so I can stay grounded. I think that's a very important skill for parents to actually employ at home as well. And that's why I say parents, sometimes we then, without front loading, what happens is we encounter behaviors, right? But if we want to, have a control over those behaviors and not see those behaviors, we can just front load them. This is what's expected. This is what you will see. This is how we can, be at this environment. And then this is how you might feel, but that's okay, because it's the environment requires that. So that's very important as well.
Yes. And kids crave it.
Yeah.
They want that structure. They want that routine. They want to know what's coming. They don't know how to ask for it, but if they have it and then they don't, they miss it. So they want it. And it's our duty I feel it's my duty as a NeuroGrowth learning success coach to make sure that they have that structure and they have that understanding, and that the parents, who are all well-meaning and we all want the best for our children, know what it is that needs to be put in place for them to be successful in school and in life.
Yes.
That's why I went into education, is not so that students can memorize the periodic table, even though I do love science and math, but so that kids can be successful at whatever they want to do in life.
Absolutely. So you have a presentation to show parents what you do really, and give them some value, and what they could do too, right? Maybe share some tips with them. So yes. Are you able to share that?
Yes. All right. It looks like it's up there. So my company is Pathways to Potential. And my reason for that is I had to take some really long routes to reach my potential, as undiagnosed ADHD. I had to kind of figure things out on my own. I used to call it, I would play mind games with myself. And now kids growing up now, they have a lot harder things that I think they have to deal with social media and just the world as it is. But they also benefit from the amazing science and strategies that are out there that were just not known. They were considered mind games when I was in school. So I really like to focus on executive functions, which I always start when I work with a kid about like, do you know what this even means? And they don't. They can often tell me, yeah, my parents say I need help with it, but they don't know what it is. And even when I ask parents, they don't always know. So my definition is just how to get stuff done. You can be as smart as Albert Einstein, but you need to be able to get stuff done to be able to show it. Mm. But it's also one of those things, and this is where most of the parents are, is that if they don't struggle with it, they don't understand how it's something that somebody struggles with.
Because we expect, I mean, come on, you know how to do that. You heard parents, I've said it to myself sometimes, right? You know how to do that. And then we don't think that it needs to be broken down into steps for some of us.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. And what that really makes me think of is a good friend of mine, as a young adult, she had come over to my house and was just like, wow, like my house was really messy. It was really cluttered. It was not organized. But I was also a really good teacher. And she's just like, I don't know how you manage a middle school classroom with like 185 kids. And I'm like, but my classroom is wonderful. It's organized. Everything has a place. There's a routine. And then when I really got thinking about it, the reason is that somebody taught me. I took classes in college that taught me how to design a classroom, how to organize a classroom, how to do this. And so my home life and my classroom looked totally different. And it wasn't until I had to learn how to adjust those skills to use at home. So kids need to be taught these things, and they're not. And schools and it's not because teachers don't understand how important it is. Teachers do. It's just there's so much that they have to do. But when students struggle with this, a lot of the things that they think of is they start internalizing, I'm dumb, I'm not smart enough, I guess I just don't care about school, I'm not going to do it right anyway, so why am I going to try? I'm a failure. And when kids are saying those things to themselves, that's so deflating. And then they're hearing others say, you're lazy, you just need to try harder, you just don't care, you just need to focus, like it's not that hard, which then just makes it so much worse. So it's a hard problem to understand from those who don't understand. But the great news is that all of these are skills that can be taught so easily, especially during the summer. I mean, you have, depending on where you live, you have 2 to 3 months of downtime, time that kids need to do something. So my recommendation for parents is that you get your kids involved in the planning to learn and help with some of these executive functions. So anybody you talk to, you Google executive functions, you're going to find a different number. You'll find anywhere from 3 to 17. These are ones that you see often. One that is my overarching one that I didn't actually put on this list is self-advocacy. It's learning what you need and then advocating to get it. Yes. As teachers, people want to give people what they need. You just need to know what it is. So what my recommendation for parents is to use the summer to work on all those skills. So have your child be involved in the planning. If you work and you need to find camps for your kids, help them find the camp and then have them actually look at the calendar. They just know they get dropped off, they get picked up, and kids are just going through the motions that their parents can really help build these skills that will help them do a multi-step math problem by I need to be at work at this time. You can be dropped off at camp at this time. It takes this long. Like, involve them in that step-by-step planning, or set a goal for the summer, and have your child work through that plan. Let them fail. I think kids failing and then reassessing and trying again is where the most learning happens. And in the summer, you can afford to do that. There's not a grade. It's not going on a transcript. That's when you need to try and readjust. So an example, my daughter's always wanted a cat. She struggles with executive functions. So this cat, two of them, all of the things that we get to think about is, all right, who's going to feed them? When do they need to be fed? When's the litter box? How's the litter box? What's the process? Where does it go? Where do we put it? Do we have to keep the cats clean? We have to keep the litter box clean, but we also need to keep the house clean. So what's our schedule? How are we going to do that? How are we going to pay for the supplies? What supplies are needed? So every one of those skills go in to getting cats over the summer. And then I also told her that for a cat to be happy, you have to read to it every day. So she's also been reading to her cats every day, and
Nice.
it's wonderful.
Love it. And that's the thing with us, right? Because we don't sometimes take that time to plan with our kids. Like you were just earlier saying how easy to plan. Like I always, like, even my husband, he sometimes says, let's reverse engineer the time we have to wake up. Let's say we have to catch a plane. So he'll start reverse engineering to what time do I have to get up? So then I drive, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then I get to the airport, right? So even including that, just like, okay, what time do you have to get up if you have a camp? Mm-hmm. And don't wake them up, and like giving them that responsibility. Let's put a, how do you wake up? Mm-hmm. And then that stops the nagging. Sometimes we're always like, wake up, right? Mm-hmm. 5 times.
And what parents don't always understand, and what I didn't understand either, is how these skills translate into the classroom. Getting to class on time. When do you start an assignment? And I mean, we have kids going to college who have straight A's in high school, but fail out freshman year because they don't know how to get up, get to class, get their supplies, have what they need. Like you said, reverse engineer. When do you have to leave your dorm? What do you need to bring with you? There's just so much that goes into it that does not depend on your intellectual ability. They are two totally separate things that are often meshed together, as if you struggle with executive functions, you think you're not as smart, or somebody doesn't expect as much of you, when that is not true at all.
No, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So some of the summer programs that I do offer, like I'd said earlier, is if a parent comes to me or a student comes to me, I'll find something for them. If they fit into one of my groups, great. If they don't, then I'll design what they need, what would benefit them the most. So I do have an executive function boot camp that is great for like late elementary, maybe some early middle school kids, just to kind of fine tune and really kind of learn what they are. Some of it is just awareness. Awareness of what it is, so that you know what you're doing when you're doing it, so that later you can problem solve and use those skills. Avoid the middle school disaster, which is...
Let me ask you this before you move on to that. Is it also, this one also, like, when a child knows about this and then they start doing it, they can also catch them. Like, that awareness turns into catching our own selves, right? And then it avoids us from calling us as stupid, instead of saying, oh, I just need to learn that executive functioning. I just don't have that functioning yet, or I just don't have that skill yet. Maybe they have it. So it gives them a strong understanding of their ability.
Yes. And it really helps with kind of having a more positive mindset, because you wouldn't look at, if you're in 6th grade math, you wouldn't look at a calculus problem and be like, oh, I'm so dumb, I don't know how to do that, because you haven't been taught it, and you haven't been taught it. But when it comes to those executive function skills, kids feel like it's assumed that they should know how to do it, and then they feel down on themselves, but it's not their fault. They haven't been taught. They need to be taught it. So this allows them, and what's really beautiful is kids who've done this work with me in the past, I've seen them problem solve with their friends.
Mm.
Like, oh, okay, like, well, you didn't get to, what could you have done? Or maybe you should bring this to this class because you don't have time to go to your, and it's so beautiful when they start using those skills and then teaching them to others and offering those doors that they could open, those things that they can try to just help everybody with these, which is just, it's such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
I also have Avoid the Middle School Disaster, which is similar. But moving into middle school is a big transition, and it doesn't matter like where your school system is. Sometimes it's 5th, 6th, or 7th grade. Either way, it's a big transition and it's a big change. So it's working on some of those study skills, executive function, social and emotional, and just kind of the concerns that come along with middle school. And what's really great about that is it's a group that can share, go through it, learn skills, learn kind of that toolkit to fall back on, but then also meet up a few times throughout the year, throughout the fall, to check in. Hey, how's it going? What did you learn? How could you, I have this situation, what could I do? And then it's peers helping peers, which is a wonderful thing. Also, as a former math and science teacher, I can't totally go away from content because I love the content. But also reviewing kind of those math fundamentals, which I can't even begin to tell you. And I'm sure you know, as a former math teacher too, so many of our kids, when they get into middle and high school and even college, it's not the new content they're being taught. It's that basic number sense and skills, which is what is lacking. And oftentimes schools just really push through to get to the advanced math, and then they have to spend so much time catching up. So it's really to work with kids.
And I like this during the summer, because if my son or daughter is going to middle school upcoming year, this would be great, because a lot of the time it's also anxiety, right? Because I'm changing school. I don't know who's my teacher. I don't know what it looks like, because it's a fear of the unknown, right? We all have them.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. And then it's also where they're also growing. They're in that very, very fine, that age, right? That's kind of like, I need to fit in. That they're getting those sense of, would I belong? All these things, right? So there's a lot in that sense too, friendships.
Yes. And then also it's that age where they still need and want trusted adults, but it's a lot harder to talk to mom and dad. So it's having that other adult who, and I hope that every child has a safe adult that they can go to. And my hope and prayer is that for every child, it's their parents. Sometimes it's just not safe, but also sometimes kids they have wonderful parents, but they need somebody who's not their parents.
Yes.
And I hope that they can find that in schools. I hope that they have that teacher or that guidance counselor. But the reality is that there are so many students in this overwhelmed school system that I can help a small group of students, but also kind of take that weight off the school, where, all right, the 6 or 7 kids that are in my Avoid the Middle School Disaster kids, like, they've got somebody. They can take what they need at school, and then they've got somebody, and then the school can really focus on the others.
What does your kids think about the name Disaster? Do they smile?
They do. I had I work at a school, and I teach a class. I just teach 2 classes, and one of them they're going off to middle school next year, and it was recess, and they wanted to hang out in my room, and I was working on my design for my program, and they're like, "Oh, I want to take that, like, disaster. That looks cool." I was like, "Well, you don't want that disaster," and they're like, "Yeah, I want to take your class. I'm like, "All right, I'd love to have you."
Avoid disaster. Love it.
Well, and that's what's portrayed in the media. That's what's portrayed in books, is that middle school is such a scary, horrible time. And it's not. Mm-mm. It's scary, but it's not horrible, and it doesn't have to be. And that's what I really want to, that's my passion.
Yeah. And also it takes conversation, right? Even parents can start that conversation, and just even regular going for a walk, taking them to a coffee shop, or having something, or just asking, how are you feeling about next year? What's coming up for you? What questions do you have? When I went to school, middle school, you know what? I used to have this feeling that I'm not sure how I'm going to go to all the classes, because now I have to go to different classes. I don't have one class and I sit, right? I got to change class. So I was so scared that I might be late.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just bring up what you went through, right? There's easy conversation for parents too, right? To just see where they're
at.
at.
I think it's important for parents to give space for their kids' feelings and concerns, and sometimes offer advice and input, skills and strategies. Those are all wonderful things. But also to just keep that dialogue open where, sometimes we don't know what the right answer is. Like, there's multiple things you can try, and I don't know what all those things are. And that's really important, especially in today's world, which is so different from when I was in school, when these students' parents were in school, that just offering that space for, there's a lot of things we can try and we don't know, and it's okay to fail, and we're going to try again. And that's where true learning and growth happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have a life coaching program.
Yes, which I'm very excited about. And this is I'm very excited about it. This is a small group or one-on-one program. I think it's really beneficial for kids to be in a small group while looking at just different things that kids face these days, which quite honestly it's a lot harder in the age of social media and phones and like screen addictions and the cost of living. There's so many to parent working households. A lot of time, like there's a significant number of challenges that students face today. And I think we're starting to see in society the effects that this is having unintentionally. I mean, parents want the best. There's no doubt about how wonderful parents are in what they want for their children, but they're navigating a world that is so unknown to us and scary and risky for our children. Yep. So by having a safe space to really build those skills, explore who they are as a person and who they want to be when faced with challenging situations.
Yeah, I think more than ever, our kids need connection. Mm-hmm. And that's why I always tell parents, like, be present in the moment with your kids as much as possible.
Put the phone down.
Yeah. Number two is grounding. And that comes from grounding within the family structure and then grounding in faith, whatever it is. But there needs to be some grounding so that, as we earlier said, they need that grounding and structure. They look for it, they crave for that. And without it, anyone can adjust them, right? Now they don't have, I always think of it like a tree. If it doesn't have a root, anything and everything is just going to move it whatever direction and just uplift it and take it away, right? The wind can do anything to it. But if it has a strong foundation and a strong root, which is going to come from the family and the values and the faith, then
you just said the word values. That was what I was thinking as you said that, is help kids verbalize and know how to explain their values. Because I see so many kids who come from amazing families with amazing values, but the kids can't articulate what those are, which means they want to have those roots and they're flimsy roots, but they need to really know and understand them and be able to articulate them and apply them.
Yeah, and life coaching program actually dives into all of that stuff, right? Because that's the basis of the identity.
Yeah, and the parents are involved too. Like it's all about helping that family structure and moving kids forward in their ability to navigate this world, which helps the entire family. It's a struggle for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there more slides?
No, that's all. That's
we were looking for more. We were waiting. Keep it going.
You're good.
I was like, there's no more? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. So what I wanted to summarize is, as you hear Lisa say, how important is to take this opportunity in the summer. It doesn't mean you have to work with some coach, or even your children has to be occupied all summer long, because they do need a rest. They need to walk away from books and everything. If anything, they need to walk away from all the electronics as well, and detox, and really get out, play, because since COVID we've been like all like indoor stuff, right? We learned some habits too during those times. So this would be a great summer opportunity to parents to do that. But some intensive programs of 2 weeks, a week of intensive programs like this will help them really gain those really important skill sets, the value systems, the grounding, the roots can be laid, and then they could go back in August or September, and now they can grow.
And even that downtime is such an important time to help build those skills too. If they know what their values are, then when they have a week off, they can make choices based on those values for what they're going to do. And making choices and following through on them are using your executive function skills. So downtime is so valuable for our children.
Yeah.
You just got to front load those skills.
Yes. And what I love about your program, Lisa, is how ADHD works, because you actually mastered that and made it your superpower. Not a lot of people make it their superpower. They've always, like, we can sit and complain and say, I'm disabled, versus that's my superpower, guys. And that's what you did. And then now you're helping that to be a statement for your students, and not only that, you have 2 kids who you have structured their program to be the best program they can ever have, which means that you were involved in a lot of those setup of those programs. So about IEPs, and you've been a teacher in the classroom. Oh, yes. So you just don't come from just starting off, right? You have so much depth to what you bring, that a parent could just rely on you if there is a child they're struggling with, even at the point of, I don't know why my child's not learning. Because how many parents out there do that, right? I don't know what my child's doing wrong.
I can't even imagine, like, having my background, a teacher with 15 plus years experience, 2 master's degrees. I have 2 special needs children, and it was a struggle for me. And I mean, parenting is a struggle, but I feel so fortunate to have had the background that I had, and how I've been able to use that to help my 2 special needs children, that even the most well-meaning parents, not everybody has the background I have. Not everybody's a teacher, but their kids still deserve to get everything. And it shouldn't come down to what the parents know. But unfortunately, in our system, it does, which is why I love what I'm doing, because I'm helping kids and families.
Yes. And your daughter is working with the NeuroGrowth, Wholistic NeuroGrowth Learning Success Coach. And how has that helped her? Because you always saying that it's day and night now for her, right?
It is completely different. She has many, many learning disabilities, ADHD, and it was within the last year where we were seriously like questioning, like, do we have the appropriate expectations for her? Is she going to be able to learn how to read? And it was a very real question. And we had psychologists and people doing evaluations, and it was questionable. And these are specialists. And she's been working with a NeuroGrowth Learning Success Coach 3 days a week for this school year. And she's reading and she loves it.
Nice. Now she's reading to the cat.
And she's doing math. And it's fascinating what I've learned too as a teacher. I specialize in middle school and up. I am not qualified to teach my first grader, second grader how to read. But it's been fascinating what I've been able to learn from her NeuroGrowth Learning Success Coach, in that we're not going to spend forever worrying about counting sequentially 1 to 20, but she conceptually understands base 10, and we can still go forward. And it fascinates me what I'm learning from a fellow educator who has a different expertise. So that's what's so great, is that there's so many of us, and we all have our niche and our expertise. And that means that every child out there can reach a potential and can be helped.
And that's my dream, is to have a holistic NeuroGrowth Learning Success Coach by every child.
Yes. And
that's my
when my son is old enough, he will have one too.
yes. And that goes to one more thing I want to add before end is working with your own child, right? There's a difference between if you're homeschooling and if you're like, why did I do that? Don't be afraid of that, because it's not easy working as a mom or dad with your own child, because I always say it's the expectation, and there's a different level of patience when it comes to our own kids versus somebody else's kids.
Yes.
So both of those things always makes it harder for us to be our own kids' teacher, even though we're their first teacher, right? Even with my son, I always find a coach, because I just don't have the patience I have with all the thousands of kids I worked with.
And I tell it to my kids' parents all the time, is that like, if there's something you really need them to hear and you want them to hear it from another adult who they'll probably hear it from better, especially the age group I work at, middle school kids, parents are so grateful.
Yes.
Like, oh, well, Lisa said that. Lisa said you can't have your phone. Like, okay, blame me. Like, please do. Because it's easier. It helps the whole relationship. It helps the whole family.
Yes. Instead of saying, I say so, right? Then it becomes an argument in the family. Yes, love it. Anything else you want to leave our parents with? Any tips? One more tip? Two more tips?
I hope you all have a wonderful summer and use every opportunity, use any downtime to help plan and use those skills. Plan a dinner together, make a budget, buy the groceries, do the math, just have fun and use those skills.
Anything with multiple steps, right? Just get them involved and don't do it. Just let them do it. And it might be messy. It might take longer, but just be patient. That's the test for your patience.
Messy. That's when learning happens. Anytime my kids' teachers, when I pick them up, it got paint on him or something. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, that means he had a successful day. Yes. That's where the learning happens.
Yes. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for what you do, and you're a blessing to many families. Thank you for being here today. And thank you everyone for watching. And we'll have other coaches too in our later episodes. You'll meet them as well. Thank you. Have a blessed day, everyone.
Thank you for having me.